Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So we are here today. I am very excited to be starting Fine Arts Taguary. So this is my challenge. I have linked down below. You are absolutely invited to participate. If you do and you want to post on social media, please use the hashtag Fine Arts Taguary. So this is just an easy peasy make a tag every day in February using these fine arts themed prompts. So we're just gonna have some kind of time, just some relax. It's a tag, it's one project, it's nothing major, no mass make, no nothing like that. So for day one, we are going to be covering Frida Kahlo, Mexican artist extraordinaire. I have this lovely big Frida Kahlo book that I've been meaning to kind of tap into a little bit. So I also have this little dress that was my daughter's, and I think it's very floral. I think Frida would approve of this beautiful dress. I could almost see her wearing it. It's so completely red flowers, her floral abundance is very clear. So let's flip through this book a little bit. And I'll just talk to you a little bit about Frida Kahlo. So obviously she's a famous Mexican painter. She is known for her very deeply personal work, her very honest interpretation of her life with a bit of surrealism and majestic kind of, add-ins. And she did work that was often very painful. She did a lot of self-portraits. She had a very turbulent life. She had childhood polio at age 6. She had a near fatal bus accident, numerous surgeries as a result, and she had a very, I would say, turbulent marriage to also artist Diego Rivera. So she was born in 1907, and, at age 6, when she contracted polio, it left her right leg thinner and shorter. And so she unfortunately, was given these mean kind of names like Frida the Lame. So she had to endure some childhood, emotional strife as a result of her accident. Here she is with one of her pet monkeys. She liked monkeys, unlike myself, totally not into monkeys. So when she was 18 is when she got into that horrific bus crash. It left her severely injured with a fractured spine, pelvis, and leg, and her abdomen was pierced, which was very devastating for her. And basically it stopped her on her path of what she had wanted to do with her life, which was to go to medical school. So she's done around 200 different self-portraits. It's about a third of her work. It explores her identity, her heritage. She always rejected the label, and that's why I didn't use it when I talked about the magic she adds to her work, surrealism. She rejected that label. She said, I never painted dreams, I painted my own reality. And I respect that. So she does paint a lot of Mexican culture, from folk culture, Catholicism, pre-Columbian beliefs, and she also celebrates her mestiza heritage. So her husband, Diego Rivera, he was a muralist, and they were married in 1929, but they then divorced and then remarried. They had a very tumultuous relationship. He was not a good man, honestly, at least by my feeling. He had an affair with her sister. She was a dedicated communist, and she joined the Mexican Communist Party in 1927. Communism can be kind of a thing where, people feel different ways about it, but there's also different kinds of communism. It's not always all good, and it's not always all bad. I think it kind of depends on how it's implemented, right? So she was a feminist. She is a cultural icon. She had a very of her own unflinching style, right? Just very much her own. I like how she embraced her identity, even down to the depiction of her unified eyebrows, her facial hair. She was not afraid to be who she was. And she, I think, makes those things more beautiful. Like one thing that I love about her is that, you know, she normalizes the idea of like women not having to look like a societal standard, really, right? That like, I think she's a great icon for younger girls, especially girls who, you know, are from backgrounds where facial hair is more prominent. Like with my child going to school, you know, she brought home a book, or we found a book at the library actually one day that was called something like it was like My Mustache, but the word wasn't mustache. It was a word that's used in one South Asian language. I can't recall which one, possibly Punjabi. And it was just about like normalizing that people with darker hair and darker skin typically have darker hair, right? That it's not this big stigma, and that little girls should feel very comfortable in their own bodies. And also, I am very much a supporter of people not having to shave every hair off of their body, and being able to feel proud of who they are and in their skin. I think that we often can put a lot of focus on, you know, things that really just don't matter, like somebody's body hair. Body hair is natural, it's healthy, it actually is very healthy for the body to control bacteria, to remove moisture, all those good things, right? It's like the to shave or not to shave kind of principle. So, that being said, I think we've done a little bit of a look here at her work. So I'm going to actually use a misprinted paper that I created accidentally to make my tag. I'm just going to double this up, but I can't even show you what's inside of it because it's for a future Patreon thing. So I can't show it to you, even though it's a misprint of the thing. Okay, there we go. So now let's go ahead and make this into a nice sized tag. I'm going to be real easy and just tear. And then I think I want to go to about maybe here. So then we will just make a cut into a tag. Nice wide tag for today. Okay. So what I would like to do is, I think I mentioned I want to use up this dress. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to get the background done. So I don't have to, I'm not even going to look at the pictures that I want to use yet, because I don't want to influence myself to not use this fabric, because I find a picture that I like more than what I can use with this fabric. I want to create a barrier to my choice that says, nope, you're using this fabric, so whatever you plan to pull out of this book needs to work with that fabric, right? Create that creative boundary so that we're not like spoiled for choice and on a wanderlust of Frida Kahlo adventure. Because as much time as I'd love to have to do that, we don't have the time today. Well, I don't. I hope you do. I don't. I've got worky things today, so it's early morning. My children just got off to school. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to tear a nice length of this dress, which I'm just kind of cutting a little gash in off camera that you can't see, but I'll be coming right back on camera in a second here. I'm not using my fabric scissors, so this is a little janky. There we go. Okay, move that off to the side. Now, I really want to get a lot of floral here, but I'm not going to necessarily center, because I figure what I'll end up doing is I'll be putting an image of Frida on here. So I've got to kind of make room for her on one side at least, so that I don't like center everything, right? And then lose all the florals. So I kind of want them to sit around the edge. So then I'm going to come in here and just trim a little. And I'm just gonna make strips because I find geometric scraps are much easier for me to use than if I were to try to cut this all out and make it like one piece, you know, like it would just be this very misshapen kind of piece. But with strips of fabric, you can do things. You can make tag toppers, you can make snippet strips, you can make a quilt, you can do whatever you want really with strips of geometric fabric. So these kind of bits I end up putting into my little fabric scrap bag, which I keep next to me so I can grab from it when I'm making. And then stuff like this, I'll just kind of fold it up and put it into my fabric stash. So then what I end up doing with garments like this, I don't like to keep them whole like this because they're very hard to organize in my studio when it's just a bunch of, you know, randomness. So I do like to cut them into the geometric shapes that I intend them to be in. So that'll be a little bit later on kind of project for me. I'll just set it off to the side because once you start something, it's always nice to try to finish it up and then it's not there, you know, bothering you later. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I want to find a nice image of a Frida Kahlo portrait, and I've got to think about the size, and I don't want to use anything where I'm in love with the background because you know, I will feel like I've lost out. So I like this one, and I don't like monkeys. So I think I will use this one. Now the challenge is going to still be just that I have to cover up our monkey friends or the creepy little black hand on her neck there when I cut her out. So I'm sorry to those of you who love monkeys. I just, it's not that I hate them, but they give me the heebie-jeebies. I'm not a big fan of them. Okay, so I think I'm going to try to casually come up here and create like a false shoulder. And then just kind of fussy cut around her face. And then, yeah, that's her hair. Okay. I'm sorry, little monkeys. They're actually quite cute, the way she's painted them. Very cute. Okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. I like that. I'm actually going to keep this. We could do something interesting, like a painting inside her face. Let's think about that for another project. You see how doing these artsy kind of projects, they're going to expand your brain. So now what I'll do, that this has had a moment to sit, I'm just going to come in and I'm going to clip a little closer to the edge of the tag. Now, if you've been here for a while, you know that I do a lot of stitching, so I'm obviously going to be stitching this all around. So don't stress if you're like, oh, you're going to lose your clean edges. So I think I probably we'll stitch the end though. I'm not going to stitch right now. So the only thing I'd say is important is to just try to maintain that flat bit. If you start to see anything that flips up a little at this stage, unless you are stitching right away, just come in and give it a little glue. I'm just using up the last of this glue stick. That's why I'm doing this archaic scraping situation instead of just regular glue stick. Okay. Yeah, so that's that. We're pretty flat and good. So now I need to figure out, see, that's exactly what I wanted, which is like, you know, some space there for her to be and still have some florals. So I will go ahead and just glue this on as well. Do I want to use, what glue do I want to use? Maybe I'll use a wet glue, like a wet glue. Maybe a Fabri-Tac actually would be good. So I'm just going to come around the edge here. This little bottle of Fabri-Tac, it has been sitting around, so it's gotten a little thick. I got to put some acetate in there to thin it out a little. It just means that you've got harder handwork to do, which isn't lovely for anyone's hands, but especially if your hands are, you know, unhappy. Okay, why don't I just glue this for a moment and I'll come back. Okay, so we're fully glued down now. So let's just put her on here, kind of right where we want her to be. Then obviously come back and just, we're going to trim away the excess of that top image. A little sticky. Excess glue. Just take a book page here. Just kind of wipe the excess glue on the book page. These poor dear scissors, they do get cleaned, just somewhat infrequently. That's the thing about paper, is like you're always working, you know, trying to maintain your tools is like a separate whole agenda. Okay, so now we have this, and we have some monkey parts that are still hanging around. Now, one thing I'm thinking I'd like to try to do here is create some appliques from the same fabric. So in this case, we've got like a nice red and a nice pink, larger kind of cluster of flowers. So I'm going to cut this one out and this one. So I want the pink and the red, I think. Okay, there we go. And then this kind of thing mainly I think is going to go into the recycling, but I'm going to save some of it. Okay, so now we got these bits. And I need to get something like this little piece of folder here that I can then glue them down on. I'm going to use glue stick. And I'm just going to apply it right on the folder, like so. A little bit heavily, not like crazy heavy, but you know, heavy enough that the fabric's going to suck up a little bit of that glue and really lay flat. So we'll start with this pink one. And see, this gives you the opportunity to not be stressed out by all the wrinkles and things. That's good. And then do I have enough of a gluey spot for just this one? A little bit more, a little bit more. Okay, so now that can be cut apart. And then I'll use my little detail scissors here to fussy cut these. And I mean, it doesn't have to be fussy cut all the way to the edge. Like if you're one of those people like me who doesn't mind and actually kind of likes the outline, you can certainly do that. But yeah, now we're just going to take a little bit of time and cut out the applique. So tell me how you feel about Frida Kahlo. Do you like her work? Or do you not like her work? Or do you have questions about her? Have you ever seen her work live? I find her to be an extremely fascinating and enduring person. I think some of her life and some of her decisions that she made for her life, maybe I would have made slightly different decisions, probably specifically around Diego. I also think, like, you know, like in a lot of cases of women artists throughout history, when they're associated with a man artist, they can get like overshadowed because, like, you know, people chose to recognize so many men over women. You know, there are so many books and so many things where essentially throughout history men have just stolen the work or even the flame of the female artist or writer and gotten recognition for things that they actually didn't do. And I think in the case of Diego Rivera, while he was, I guess, a talented artist, I think there's often too much conversation about him when we talk about her, which is ironic. I'm talking about him right now, but at least to kind of illuminate my issue with it. Okay, so now these are going to be our bits that we're going to use to hide those monkeys and give a little bit more of that framing to Frida, because, you know, another nice thing about a lot of her work is either in the background or sometimes in the foreground, and I notice it a lot in modern products that use like her likeness. It's often framed in these big, bright flowers. And, you know, obviously they're very much associated with her aesthetic. She wore a flower crown in her hair, you know, very cool aesthetic, very fashionable. I was really enamored to see, like, there was an auction, I think this past year, of like her clothing. A lot of her garments were auctioned. I know a lot of them end up in museums. A lot of her life artifacts are in museums, thankfully. I'd love to see things in museums rather than in the collections of the rich. It's much more accessible to all of us, especially to those where, you know, she's a major part of their cultural identity, like from, you know, the race of people, or not the race of people, sorry, but like Mexican people in general, but also her mestiza kind of culture. It's like, I'm sure all those artifacts are quite important to them, because she depicts things from like folk history and that kind of thing, you know. It's pretty important to be connected to our roots that way. So what I'm going to do now is head on over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch this all down. I like to just kind of, for a moment, give everything a flatten and just let your hands kind of guide the flatness of the work. It's also like, in some strange way, this is, you know, a part of being an artist. It's like how you connect with your work, to just touch it, hold it, you know, make it what you want it to be, molded in the image that you're looking for. So I will head to the sewing machine. I'm trying to think if there's something I would want to top this tag with. I don't know if there is or there is not. Let me see if I have anything that's lying about here that would be nice. Possibly a bit of my snippet roll would be nice, actually. Like something like this. It's a little different. Let's see. And it's kind of tarnished. Not tarnished, but like it's a little irregular, which I like. Do we like that? I think I'd like it more if it had a little bit of a floral. No, not the fabric scissors. Well, the paper fabric scissors. I've created paper fabric scissors now because they're just very strong, sharp scissors. Okay, maybe with that on there. Yeah, that really kind of makes it better. And then possibly also this bit of red. We just need a little more glue on here though. Can I smush it from over here? There we go. A little stickier. There we go. Get rid of that. Maybe something like this. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, so I'll go to the sewing machine and we will stitch this on, and I'll be back. all stitched around, and I put a little bit of green ink around the edges to just kind of make it pop a little more. So this is our day one of Fine Arts Taguary, and I think this is going to be a fun month. I think these are very chill projects. So I will talk to you all again tomorrow with more of this fun challenge. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give me a like if you like this challenge. That helps the algorithm to kind of get my content out there and let people know, hey, there's another daily thing happening. So that being said, check my description box for all of the links associated with this challenge. And please feel free to craft along with me. Join me, please. I would love that. So I will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.